Let's put a big silver lining bow on the year 2020 today on the Do Hard Things Today podcast. All right, 2020 is coming to a close. Here we are. We're recording this in the middle of December. So many people, the joke is how that people are going to definitely stay up on New Year's Eve until the very, very end to make sure that 2020 goes away.
I'll be one of them.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things, man. Everybody listening has had some things come into their life in 2020 that you surely weren't expecting. But we want to kind of turn the tables a little bit. And we want to finish 2020, and we want to be positive. We want to be positive about, even though some bad things happen, some unknown things happen, that these things that happened, these are things that can make us better and that we can learn from and that we can grow from and actually turn them into positives. So we've got a special guest, a repeat guest. Coach Katie Malone is here with us again. We always love to have her on. She's very knowledgeable, a leader in the endurance sports community regionally here, and so we always love to have her on. She's a lot smarter than you and I are, Hal, on all this stuff.
And had a great race.
Yeah.
Up at Lake at the Lake.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Yeah. We talked about that. That was, my goodness. Well, what she did a terrible job of though, is that she did not tell us that 2 minutes into the race, we were going to run straight up a hill. I mean, literally straight up a hill. And I wasn't ready. I mean, when I got at the top of that hill, I was blowing up right there. But there were a couple of people around me that I wasn't going to let get away from me. So I kept going. But that was a tough hill to start on.
Kevin, the name of the race is Ache
I know.
Around the Lake,
Yeah.
and the other name of the longer race is the Trauma.
Yeah.
You should be expecting bad things in a race like that.
Well, you start and you run downhill and you're just like breezing, like nothing, nothing's going on, and you hit the nice, beautiful lake, and you take a left, and you're like, holy moly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's it's how the mountains are. That you go up and you're like, okay, well, as soon as it turns, it'll stop. Then it'll stop. But great time, great atmosphere. I appreciate you guys putting that on. So what we're going to do, this is a round table. Nobody knew what anybody was going to say before we came because we wanted this to be a round table discussion. Listeners, what I want you to do is for a second, remove all the negativity from your mind. All the bad stuff, all the things, no matter what has happened, no matter what is going on. What we're going to do is we're just going to go around and we're going to share positive things that we think you can learn from 2020. And because she's the smartest person at the table, and because ladies always go first here on the Do Hard Things Today podcast, Coach Katie Malone gets to go first.
Great. That makes it easy for me. Okay, so my first thing about 2020 that I just found to be really positive was the fact that we could just train without any pressure of racing, because there came a point at which we kind of knew there weren't going to be any races on the schedule. And so you could just go out and train and do whatever you felt like, whenever you felt like, and just enjoy it and really be out there for the reason that got me started in all of it to begin with, was just to be fit and have fun.
Let me ask a question about that. So what do you do with the people that it was the exact opposite? When races started getting canceled and those kind of things, and even though we enjoy the process, and I've actually got one that's kind of similar to this, but for so many of us, it is that race, that big goal that kind of keeps our motivation going. And so how did you get back to that? How did you get back to because you race all over the place. You've been very competitive. You've done a lot of pretty cool stuff. But how did you find that enjoyment and really reset your mind to getting back to that?
Well, kind of like you just said, it's resetting your mind. And I think this year I probably spent more time than ever on mental training, working with people, talking to people. I felt like feedback on workouts became much more important because we didn't necessarily have those races that we were targeting. And so people really needed like other things to focus on.
Yeah.
And from a mental health standpoint too. Some of us, myself included, like I never realized how much I loved to race and like what a big part of my life that was until this year where I had to have that forced break. And, you know, our sport is a little bit addictive. I think I've said this before, maybe even on this podcast. And so when if you're an alcoholic and you take the alcohol away, you're forced to kind of come clean.
Mm.
And I feel like this year kind of was like that for people who were really addicted to racing and, I want to get better. I want to get faster. It took that away. So you had to kind of come to terms with that, or you had to get very good at virtual racing, which was that's a whole nother category. But, I think mentally you really had to adjust your mindset.
Yeah. Good stuff. Hal?
I think mine, one of the positives is trying new things. I kind of touched on doing new things like several from the Hub City Runners group got into trail running, and several did. I mean, they had like 18 people, I think, at the 50K dark horse race, and a lot of those were newbies that hadn't done those type of racing. So I think trying new things was a positive from 2020.
Yeah, that's good. One of mine, and this isn't necessarily, it could be training, but it's more life oriented than anything. Is it 2020 has taught me to appreciate the moment that I'm in, and a lot of that was because Facebook Memories does it to you. And we had a senior, and she graduated in May, our first high school graduate, and she Facebook Memories started popping up from the beginning of last year, and it was something I had posted that was, the first of many last this year. And she's a violinist for years. I've gone to all the Dorman concerts and those kind of things, and I always thought about one of the things they do is on their very last concert, they bring parents up, and you stand with your senior, and they talk about her and her accomplishments, those kind of things. And I've always just kind of anticipated and looked forward to that moment. And, it's really for me, it's taught me to appreciate the moment that I'm in, because you don't know that those next moments that you're anticipating are going to come. And so I have tried to be more intentional about really appreciating the moments that I'm in, and not looking so far out into the future and anticipating those other things, but really appreciating where I am right now and making those moments the very best they can be at that moment.
That's a great one.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Hey, that's my best one, so y'all better be good.
Start with the best.
I started with the best one. What's your next one, Coach?
My next one is, I don't really know how to put this into one word, but being an athlete, we're always taught to fight through, push through. Like if something's wrong, just make it happen, make it happen. And this year was so much out of our control. I guess maybe my next one would be giving up control, because with COVID, we had to give up control. I mean, it wasn't up to us whether the race was going to happen. You could prepare yourself to begin with, and then they'd cancel the race. And so it was just like, oh, okay. Now I'm really fit. What am I going to do with it? And so that's, I think, where my first one came in, with the joy in training, just enjoy where you are. But I think that giving up control, and being okay with that, really, like for me, it kind of gave me a sense of peace in a way, because there was nothing I could do to make the race happen. But all of a sudden, I had all these weekends where I wasn't traveling. I wasn't going anywhere. My bank account looks so much healthier because I wasn't traveling to races every other weekend. And so, I mean, it really was shocking to me how much money we spend on the sport, traveling, and just all the things that go along with it. And then that I was okay when they were canceled. It was like, oh, okay, I can't do anything about it. Nobody's racing. It's not like it's just me. And so that honestly turned into a positive for me.
Yeah. And once that was tough. I mean, for the people, and especially for people that are in the triathlon sport, generally,
Yes,
they want to be in complete control of everything in their life.
of course we do.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it is. But I'll go back to my daughter on these things. When you talk about the positives of the bank account and the other thing of, they went out on spring break last year and never went back to school.
Right.
School was I mean, everything was virtual after that. And initially it was just terrible. I was like, man, but then I remember, I'll never forget it. It hit me. I was walking by her room one day. I was like, wow, next year I'm going to walk by this room and she's not going to be there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we had an extra 6 weeks of our senior at home, not at school. We're not going out and doing a lot of things. We're not spending our nights, running all these different places. So it was, hey, it's kind of out of our control, but we can control what's going on right here and make the best of it. So I relate with you on that one. How?
Well, for some, I think a positive could be developing a self-motivation to become self-reliant on yourself, basically, and being, with the virtual races, a lot of people depend on people to motivate them to do well or to perform. But with the virtual races, you're on your own to go out and do your best. So I think for some, being able to motivate yourself would become a positive that they could have gained from 2020.
Yeah, because you had to, because you didn't have the big defining goal race out there this year. I feel you. Second one I have is taught me to be proactive about my health. And, when this COVID hit and, my goodness, there's been a lot of people have lost their lives. A lot of people have been very sick. We've got some people close to us that have been very sick, people in our running groups. And, we were talking beforehand that there are some people that have been very sick. And, it's very possible that the good shape that they were in and the way they had taken care of their bodies at that point could have saved their lives during something like this. And look, man, we don't know when another virus like this is going to show up. You don't know. And I think right now, and what it's taught me is, Kevin, be 47 now, be as proactive about your health, eating the right things, exercising, staying away from the bad things as you can to protect you from these other things that, when you look at the COVID and the things that are, when you look at people that have passed away because of this, a lot of times, many times, there were these other comorbidities that were involved in it and things that were, honestly, some of the things were in our control. And some of these things that you can do proactively with your health, those things are in your control right now. And this virus, when it showed up, that was definitely not in our control. And it has affected everybody, from the most fit to the least fit. But generally speaking, the more fit that you are and the better you're taking care of your body, the more you're going to be able to fight these things when they do come. So it's a positive for me has been to be more proactive about my health as I've looked at, hey, you never know when something like this is going to come knocking at the door. So, my second one.
So I'm on to round 3 now.
Round 3.
Okay, round 3. I think mine kind of goes along with that, but it's just remembering my why. I always ask my athletes what their why is, or even if they don't tell me, I think that everybody needs to know why they're out there training. And over the years, my why has definitely changed from, being a little bit more self-centered to now where I just want to be fit so I can keep up with my child, because I had a child at an older age, and that's going to require me to be in better shape as I age, and just to be able to keep up with him. And so now, like during COVID, I was like, even on days when I wasn't super motivated to like go to a track workout, it's just that movement and being in shape and the schedule, because that was a consistent that you could keep like with or without COVID. No matter all the stuff that was out of our control, you could control, if you're going to go for a run, if you're going to get on the trainer, if you're going to do some weightlifting. And also, the lake became like a real place of peace for me because you could go to the lake, you couldn't go to the pool. Yeah. And so, like, just remembering my why and finding that joy, like I had said in my first one. I mean, it was actually a good year for me because of that peace that was there. Yeah. And there was more time available because we weren't traveling for races. Now, do I want that all the time? No. But it was really kind of like a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I was kind of going along with having more time to do things that you hadn't been able to do. A lot of stuff got canceled. Track meets and events back in the spring, or baseball games or whatever. So you had more time to get things done that you've been putting off during all the busyness that we experience in normal, the old normal times.
My round 3 is enjoy the process. And that is something I really had to learn this year, because I have up to this point, anything that I've done that there's been a big goal attached to it. And that's just kind of the way, I don't know, my brain works. I don't know, but it's always been, okay, you got to have the big goal out there, and then you can train hard because you're looking at that goal, you're fighting for that goal. But I've learned this year to enjoy the process more and to understand, and it may have been cheating it a little bit, but when I would train, I would think, this may sound terrible, but I would think about all the people that weren't training. That sounds bad, but I would think about, okay, everything I'm doing right now is putting me in a little bit better position for when things start back. And I'm going to be in a better spot. And so enjoying that process of, okay, Kevin, just make yourself a better runner. Don't worry about, is the Dopey Challenge going to be happening? Is the Ironman canceled? Make yourself a better runner.
But you did.
And I did. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I had to learn that it is hey, just get yourself better. And I think it applies to every area of our life, not just fitness, but make yourself better. And by doing that, and by starting to enjoy the process, I know there were some runs. You gave me some runs, and they were hard runs. They were attached to I knew I wasn't racing, and I had some of the best runs I've ever had. And
you had some of your best training, honestly, because you had no distractions.
Yeah. I think that was it. And so for me, I've learned to enjoy the process more and not always just be thinking about what's that big goal, but worrying about what am I going to do today to be better.
Good.
Round 4.
So I've got 2 left. My next one I'm going to go with is finding your community, or my community. And basically what I mean by this is, during normal times, I am not very involved in my little immediate community just because I'm so busy. We're traveling. We're going to all these races. My child has activities. And all of a sudden in COVID, when everything slowed down, I was able to really be more involved in my immediate community, with people, training with people, but also just, doing good and serving my community with the energy that I had and a little bit of extra time. And so that was really a benefit of 2020, is it kind of got you more focused close to home.
Yeah. I think it took us back about 50 years.
It was awesome.
Really, I think it really took us back to about 50 years ago.
It's good. We needed that. Maybe between all the technology and I mean, they're great things to keep us close, like, doing things over the web and Zoom meetings and all of that. Like, that's great. But there is a lot to be said for that interpersonal connection. And because, you didn't really want to be traveling out of state and traveling all over to visit your friends. all of a sudden you're like, wow, I have some really good friends who are like right next door.
Yep.
Let me go visit my neighbors. Let me just check on my neighbors. And we've gotten to the point where we're all so busy that, like, when's the last time you just went next door and checked on your neighbors?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A long time. It's been a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of goes along with mine. I got solidified your closest friendships and relationships because you're not spending a whole lot of time with a lot of people. It's just, for me, it was just like a half a dozen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That I was training with and going on rides with, and so I was able to solidify and get closer to those folks that you didn't, because you really didn't want to spread yourself around
Right.
to a lot of people for obvious reasons. So the opportunity was there to solidify those relationships, and it happened for me. So
Nice. Mine, count your blessings. Count your blessings. We got a lot. No matter what 2020 has brought, we got a lot to be thankful for, and even when bad things come, we got so much more to be thankful for than we do to complain about. And so I've tried to really shift my mindset to that of just spending more time thinking about all the things I got to be thankful for than all of any of the challenges that may come my way.
That's a great one. Attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
mm-hmm.
Yes. Which I've not been really proactive about up until this year, but the slowing down has helped me to do that.
Definitely. So mine, along with slowing down, my last one really is patience. My husband jokes that my middle name is Patience, and that he's totally kidding there, because I'm not very patient. And this year, you've had to be patient because you're forced to be patient. And so I just had to learn to kind of accept where we were and accept the process. And, there was no, I think the first couple of months with COVID, I was like, oh, next month it'll be over. Next week it'll be over. It's going to be over. And then I realized, no, this is the year we're having, and this is where we are. And I just have to accept it. And I have to be patient with myself, with the process, with all of it. And so just like patience was kind of my key word to myself. Anytime I started to get frustrated with what was going on, I was like, just be patient. Just be patient. It's okay. It's going to be okay.
Also, one of the all-time great rock ballads.
Patience. Oh, really?
Patience. Guns N' Roses, Patience.
Oh, of course.
Come on.
Of course.
Come on.
Yeah, patience too. That kind of goes along with, like, I was kind of using an example. You had to kind of wait to see what was going to happen. Like, I hadn't signed up for Andy's race, and I waited until to see if it was going to happen. So you wait, and then you see it's going to happen, and then you jump in and sign up for it. So just learning how to wait and be patient for the things to open up. So,
and I'm gonna steal this from you.
Go.
But I gave you the opportunity to say it. I was like, no, I'll say it till the end. I'm gonna give her opportunity because you can
I've been on there.
Adapt and adjust.
Adapt and adjust.
Oh,
yeah.
And I tell you, it's not just training. I learned the biggest adapt and adjust lesson I learned this year was in my business, and unfortunately, a lot of businesses have, and some of them, again, will be very, some had no. I mean, some are just shut down, and I mean, if you're a restaurant that just completely depends on people walking in your door, nothing you can do about that. Nothing you can do about it. But for all businesses, we're put in a very precarious position this year. What I had to learn was there was an initial there, and kind of talked to you a little bit about this. I mean, there was this initial just anxiety of, okay, I mean, like for us, we got 50 people on our team. I mean, they're dependent. I mean, it's not just about, okay, can I provide for my family? There's a lot of mouths out there that are depending on us to continue to be strong. And I tell you, there was a couple of week period where it was almost paralysis, almost paralyzed with anxiety and fear but then, when I grasped a few of the things we've talked about today, when I grasped that thing, okay, this is where it is. This is the way it's going to be. Everything's changing. Some things may change and may never return to what they were. All of these things are happening. I had to start looking, okay, how do I adapt to the current circumstances, adjust what we do and how we do it for us to be strong coming out. And I can tell you, we're finishing the strongest year we've ever had. And we are positioned better now coming out of 2020 than we were going into 2020 because of some adjustments, some things we're doing, some things that we had started to do, but then it put more of a focus, more resources into, and I think we see that in our lives everywhere of, okay, how are you, we talked about some of them, of I don't want to go back to the normal of every single night we got some kind of activity going on, and you get up in the morning, you leave, you go work, and then you got some kind of activity, and then you cross paths at some point.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be how we
come out and
how do we
go back to that? Yeah,
you know, I mean, and I think that's going to be hard, but I don't want to go back to we people say all the time, you hear it with this whole, I just want to get back to normal.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't.
Yeah.
Normal was not a healthy place we were in when you go back to March of 2020. I don't believe. Mm-hmm. I think we don't know our neighbors. You know, we don't. I mean, I'm one of those people that I know everybody, but how you hit on a second ago,
mm-hmm.
how many people though are you really close to? You know, how many of those really close relationships do you have? And when you say you know everybody, you don't know everybody.
You know who they are. They know your name. They think they know you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mm-hmm. and that's about it. And I don't want to go back to that.
No.
I don't want to. And so what I've learned, and probably, you know, this fifth one has been the biggest lesson I've learned, is to adapt and adjust. And actually, I have to credit you because I remember I was in North Carolina and I was just, I had all this planning stuff in front of me, and I was like, man, what in the world are we going to do? What if because North Carolina was shutting, they were literally shutting things down. And I was like, what are we going to do? Yeah, if they just, all of these different things. And I was like, okay, Kevin, you've got to adapt to the current, whatever is being laid out for you, you've got to adapt to that. You've got to adjust. Then you got to move forward. And I think we got to do that in every area of our life. So a lot of positive things here.
I think the adjust and adapt, and I did not say that today, mainly because it's something I always say, not just for 2020. That's been something that I have used for years. I don't know where I got it from or when I started it. I feel like it's probably something I've been using for about 10 years because it does affect every aspect of your life, adjust and adapt. And the one thing I think with 2020 is, you know, when you walk away from it, looking at this year, you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through? How am I going to make my business work? How am I going to take care of this? How am I going to take care of that? But at the end of the day, you will always do it if you try.
Mm-hmm.
You can do so much more than you think you can if you just start it. Yeah. Just start it. You see that path that you need to be on, and you have to do everything in your power to get on that path, and you can do it. You can make it happen. Yeah. But it's just putting one foot in front of the other and doing it. And I think that this year's forced a lot of it puts you in an uncomfortable position because you're doing things you haven't done before. And we all were this year, whether we wanted to. Who would have ever thought that so many people could work from home? But you can actually work from home.
And after this, and we're going to see how many buildings stay unoccupied when this is over, and people realizing that my employees can work from home and
be fun and be productive.
Yeah.
But a lot of things like that, like we'd always talked about it, like maybe, if you had a really bad day, you could work from home.
Mm-hmm.
But like this year we had to, Kevin, you had to get your business so that it would work no matter what was going on with everything with COVID. And so you did. And I just think that most of us, especially if you're willing to work hard and put in the long hours, you can accomplish so much more.
Yeah.
And it pushes you not to operate at a level of kind of being mediocre, but rather it pushes you to really operate at a higher level and to step up your game, whether it's at work or with your training. And that's where like training and being fit, like having your body be fit and having your mind be fit, that's where the two really cross over. And that's what I think sometimes people miss. But the two are so powerful when you put them to work.
So I mean, you're so right about that. And I think that, yeah, God, what you just said is the best part of what you brought this whole time. So
Great.
I guess
I didn't
I
even
guess you
come
were
up with
saving
that.
it. Yeah, I guess you were saving it because I think I feel that so much, and I think that we sometimes we get paralyzed by fear,
Yes.
fear of the unknown, and we don't, like you just said, we don't just I'm gonna lay the hammer down and I'm gonna work through this. That's all you got to do. I mean, really, it's that simple.
Right.
It's really it's that simple. So adapt and adjust. Yeah, what you said on the that helped me.
Good.
Whenever that was back in, I think it was in May when
April, May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all runs together now. But 2020, that is your silver lining to put on 2020. And so you're listening to this the end of the year, and I would just encourage you to think about these things. Think about what, have you allowed anxiety, fear of the unknown, all the changes, have you allowed those to bring you down and start having you to think negatively? Flip that switch. Think positive things, count your blessings, move forward, adapt and adjust to this new time that we're in, and then you're going to be strong coming out of it in a better position in all the areas of your life. So for Coach Katie Malone, Hal Morris, it's Kevin Harrison just reminding you, if you'll do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.